Now, Iran's Operation True Promise 3, launched in response to the Israeli attack that was dubbed Operation Rising Lion, is getting deadlier with every passing day. Now, Israel and Iran are launching more devastating rounds of assaults on each other. And our next story takes a look as to how, after firing hypersonic missiles, Iran is claiming to unleash the next generation missiles that it has in its arsenal. Take a look.
Day and night, Israeli skies are lit. Israel's Iron Dome is overwhelmed. Every day, Iranian missiles are breaching. The missile defense systems causing devastation. Social media is ablaze with images of Iranian missiles streaking in unpredictable patterns, evading the much vaunted Iron Dome and David's Sling systems. Explosions light up the horizon as the Sejil missile, used for the first time, slam into their targets with surgical precision. The Sejil is a two-stage solid-fuel surface-to-surface medium-range ballistic missile. Iran claims that it has a range of 2,000 kilometers. The 18-meter-long missile can deliver a payload of approximately 700 kilograms. It can achieve a maximum speed of up to Mach 4 to Mach 5. Iranian media reports direct hits on critical military and intelligence sites, including a Mossad-linked center and a fighter jet base. Such hypersonic velocity leaves minimal time for interception, unlike slower ballistic missiles which peak and descend predictably. These missiles plunge with speed and maneuver at high altitude, tricky targets for even advanced systems. Iran's arsenal is on full display. Hypersonic missiles, swarms of drones, and innovative tactics designed to overwhelm and confuse Israeli interceptors. Each barrage is more sophisticated than the last, catching Israeli commanders off guard and forcing a desperate scramble for new strategies to counter the incoming projectiles. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now joining us in the broadcast, we've got Colonel David Desroches, who is now a professor, Near East South Asia Center for Strategic Studies at the National Defense University, and also a former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Colonel David Desroches, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, Donald Trump has to make what is arguably the biggest decision of his life, whether to join the war or not. It is day 7 of the war. Why do you think the American president is finding it hard to make a decision here?
Well, because I think he sees the war is going on a glide path to achieving his policy objective, which is the destruction of the Iranian nuclear weapons program without any involvement by the United States. And President Trump, in contrast with previous Republican presidents, explicitly ran on a platform of saying we should not get involved militarily in the Middle East. We should let other countries in the Middle East take care of these security issues. So basically, he's getting what he asked for here, and he doesn't really need to do anything. So I think that, why should you expend effort when you're getting what you want without expending effort?
That's an interesting analysis. You say that he's getting what he needs, so he doesn't need to get involved. But the Israeli Prime Minister and the top leadership in Israel, including the defense ministers, have indicated that they would be pretty happy to have the Americans get involved in the war, at least in taking out the nuclear facility in Fordo. In case the American president does indeed decide to go ahead and join this war, what do you think would be the level of American involvement?
Well, it depends. So there's a couple scenarios. So first, if Iran were to attack American forces or American interests anywhere in the world, so I think that includes a terrorist attack against, here in the United States or in Europe, then I think he'd be involved. And you see that the United States has built amassed a pretty big force in the region that I think is designed to deter Iranian action, but should Iran attack in one of these asymmetric ways, that there's that potential. I think the second potential is that if Netanyahu, who no doubt wants, as any other leader would, wants as many partners to assist him as possible, if he actually does make the argument for some limited thing like attacks on the underground nuclear weapons facilities that cannot really be effectively destroyed with certainty by any conventional weapon. The third possibility is, as the war progresses more and more in Israel's way, he may just jump on the horse before it crosses the finish line, jump on the winning horse before it crosses the finish line, so that he can claim a part in what looks to be a pretty decisive victory.
Right, there could be a victory, but the question, of course, is at what cost will it come? Now, there are reports that have appeared in places such as the Wall Street Journal, which indicate that the Israelis are running low in the reserves of their interception missiles that are used in their air defense systems. And it's also being pointed out that even the United States of America will not be able to replenish these interceptor missiles at the pace at which they're being burnt out. In your assessment, it's being said that these interception missiles could last for about 10 or maybe 12 days. But what do you think happens once these interception missiles are no longer there for use for the Israelis?
Yeah, so I think that Israel, assuming that they do not destroy the ballistic missile inventory, and it's worth noting that the number of missiles fired at Israel have dropped markedly. They were hampered. I thought the initial response would be 1,500 missiles, and it was less than 100. And now we're down at the point where there's dozens of missiles, about a dozen missiles fired every day. So if Israel cannot degrade that capability to the point where you're in single digits and Iran becomes like the Houthis, then I think what Israel will do is go on the offense. They'll threaten deterrence and they'll say, look, we are going to attack sites that we haven't attacked, like national leadership sites, members of the National Assembly, members of the Council of Guardians, regime targets. Even so far, even the leadership of the Ministry of Defense Forces, the regular Iranian Army, Navy, Aerospace Corps, have not been targeted. Israel's only targeted the Revolutionary Guard Corps and the atomic weapons scientists. So there might be a threat of, look, if you're attacking our national infrastructure, we will broaden the attack targets from what Israel considers to be a focused target against the nuclear weapons program and Iran's offensive capabilities towards national infrastructure as well.
The question to you, Colonel Deroche, is this. A lot of people are saying that the entire premise of this war is that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. Now, the intelligence chief of the United States, Tulsi Gabbard, in her assessment had said that Iran is nowhere close to developing these nuclear weapons. With that being said, there also does not seem to be a lot of support amongst the Republican voter base for America to get involved in a war. With that being the case, do you think Donald Trump will be able to convince his Republican base and the American public at large that this is a war that he needs to get involved in?
Well, there are wars and there are wars. There's no appetite anywhere in the United States to have 40,000 American soldiers on the ground administering Iran. I think that a limited series of airstrikes and possibly one or two commando raids against hardened facilities is something that could be supported. But, it's pretty clear what we don't want. What we don't want is a multiple-year occupation that would inevitably devolve into a guerrilla war that involves tens of thousands of American soldiers. That's the kind of conflict that Donald Trump ran against. But if it's just an instance of 5 days of bomber runs hitting heavy targets. I think that that's sustainable, and I think that by the time congressional mobilization operates, Trump's calculus will be that the conflict has ended.
All right, we'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Colonel DesRoches, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you.